Imagine this, a world where death isn't mandatory. No ticking clock, no fixed goodbye, just a choice, stay or step away. The world stumbles, hospitals fall silent, funeral homes become museums of grief, inheritance dissolves overnight, faith fractures into arguments it cannot resolve, and families gather at dinner tables, staring across the plates, whispering the hardest question of all. Would you stay or would you go? At first, the divide seems clean. Immortals on one side, mortals on the other. But life never stays that simple. Cracks spread, and each one tells its own story. Some build sky cities where only the endless may live, towers that glimmer above the clouds, contracts written to last 5 centuries. For mortals, entry is forbidden, unless you work or you serve. The view from below is bitter, watching the ageless drift farther away. Elsewhere, attempts at harmony take root. Communities where mortals and immortals are paired, urgency colliding with patience. Together they create wonders, art that fuses fire with endurance, ideas that last longer than dynasties. But sometimes the balance breaks, the mortal runs out of time, and the immortal is left holding the silence. And then there are those who make a vow to remain finite, no matter the temptation. For them, mortality is sacred. Funerals become festivals, not of mourning, but of devotion. They celebrate the courage of choosing an ending, even in a world where you no longer have to. Would you step into the sky cities, live among blended lifespans, or keep your ending sacred, even when forever waits at your door? Tell me in the comments, where would you stand? But when too many choose eternity, Earth begins to strain. Cities stretch higher. Oceans choke with steel and glass. Deserts shrink beneath the weight of farms stacked to the horizon. And still, it isn't enough. Governments intervene. Dormancy decades. Enforced sleep to ration existence. 10 years of silence for every 50 awake. But the black markets grow richer. People buy stolen time, hidden years. Wakefulness becomes the most valuable commodity in the world. The wealthy leave Earth entirely. Orbital habitats spin above the planet, gleaming rings of eternity. Tickets are lifetime leases. But whose lifetime matters when lifetimes never end? On the ground, grim bargains appear. Immortals sponsoring mortal lives to justify their own continuation. A contract written in breath and blood. One person lives, so another may live forever. And far out at sea, a rebellion rises. Floating nations declare mortality the price of freedom. To live there, you must agree to die. And people flock to the waves, willing to trade eternity for dignity. Would you sleep away decades to keep your place? Would you sell or sponsor a life? Or would you choose the sea, ending by choice, free at last? Drop your answer below. Which future feels closer to your heart? Centuries pass, and sameness sets in. Power calcifies. Rulers remain, decade after decade, their faces unchanged. Boards fossilize, decisions carved in stone. Innovation slows, not because brilliance disappears, but because the same hands grip the wheel for too long. The arts stagnate. Concert halls echo with the same maestro for half a century. Skylines rise with the same designs until the world looks like a reflection of itself. Novelty dies under the weight of eternity. The young find new ways to rebel. They create in bursts of fire, 5 years at a time, then abandon their names and re-emerge reborn. Their urgency is their protest, their anonymity their weapon. Others fight harder. Resetters, Radicals who topple leaders and enforce endings when none arrive naturally. And some go inward. They cut centuries from their memories, pruning their minds to feel curiosity again. It works, but the cost is history itself, lost forever. Meanwhile, in scattered corners, mortals are elevated deliberately. Nations that say, only those who live briefly can lead. Because urgency is the spark that eternity cannot copy. Would you live in a frozen world, unchanged but safe? Would you erase your past to feel wonder again? Or would you hand the wheel back to those destined to let go? Comment your fracture. Which path feels most dangerous? Which feels most alive? But eternity brings weight heavier than stone. Every regret, every scar, every loss. They stack century after century until the body survives, but the mind buckles beneath the load. Clinics diagnose memory burden. Treatments appear, but few are enough. Entire industries rise around endings, curated exits, rituals designed to soften the choice to stop. Families invent ceremonies, last parties where everyone gathers to celebrate. Letters written to be delivered 100 years after you're gone, waiting for someone you'll never meet. Some choose complete rebirth, erasing their name, their memories, their history, starting over as strangers to their own reflection. Others try burden sharing, circles where each person carries a piece of another's memory. It works until it doesn't. Friendships bend, trust fractures. Sometimes it saves a life, sometimes it destroys two. And in cities across the world, museums transform into sanctuaries. People walk in carrying their heaviest memories. They pin them to the wall, like paintings, and they leave lighter than they arrived. Pain is shared. Memory becomes art. Could you carry every shadow forever? Would you set it down? Or would you surrender your own name and begin again, empty but free? Like this video if you've ever wondered what memories you'd choose to keep and which you'd let go. And after centuries of strain, humanity asks the final question: should this choice exist at all? Some nations draft finite charters. Lifespans capped at 120. Birthdays become sacred again because they count down toward an ending. Death restored, not as tragedy, but as rhythm. Others embrace cycles, 70 years awake, 10 years asleep, renewal by vote. Communities gather, deciding who deserves to continue. A fragile democracy, always contested, but still alive. Elsewhere, the split becomes permanent. Mortal sovereignties, immortal cities, border towns where one sidewalk follows the sun and the other forgets time exists. 2 clocks, 2 calendars, 2 truths. And finally, the quietest choice of all, the personal veto, a line written in secret, a promise made only to yourself. When it is crossed, an illness, a memory, a feeling, you let go. Not by law, not by vote, not by nation, by choice. Would you sign the charter? Live by cycles? Walk between divided nations? Or write your own private vow, invisible but binding? Subscribe if you'd want to hear more fractures like these, because we've only scratched the surface of eternity. 5 futures, each splintered inside itself. Division, pressure, stagnation, burden, rejection, echoes of our past, reflections of our future. If death was optional, would you live forever, or would you keep the clock? If this vision stayed with you, subscribe and share your path in the comments. Which fracture would you follow? And who would you want beside you in eternity? And if you want more journeys like this one, share this video with someone who would argue with you about immortality. Let's see how many fractures appear in their answers too. Because every what if carries another crack, another possibility, another world waiting to be explored. In this reality, and the next, never stop chasing the fractures.